What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to break down what's going on with Teslas. We're getting very, very tight right now, continuing to consolidate as time goes on. And we're going to see if this consolidation trend continues before we break out. I'm going to break down what Jerome Powell just said that's very important, what's happening with Tesla news, and what's going to likely happen tomorrow as I give you guys my price prediction. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below or sign up to my QR code that's right over here. Moomoo is an amazing global brokerage that consists of many exclusive offers. If you sign up and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 25 in total. If you deposit $5,000, you're guaranteed 60 free stocks. You'll also qualify for an 8.1% APY on invested cash, and the offer ends at the end of July in just 24 hours from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So Tesla has been unfortunately stuck in this consolidation phase. We're just going back and forth between supply and demand. And as we hit this upper trend line, we keep on rejecting. We're still rejecting on Tesla. So this is still favoring downside a bit more. Now, when you zoom in a little bit, you guys could quite clearly see this sort of resembles a head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, and a right shoulder. Although tech may try to bounce tomorrow, if Tesla cannot get above this resistance over here around 325, we're favoring consolidation than a potential dip that could be coming. And the market may also do something very similar as we approach August because a pullback is likely coming. Now, before the pullback comes, though, the market did dip thanks to FOMC and what Jerome Powell said, which I'll talk about in just a couple of minutes. But then the market started to bounce, and right now the market's bouncing thanks to big tech earnings. We're seeing SPY breaking out alongside the QQQ for another rally before the market forms a top. So for now, Tesla's not really pushing with the markets. It's showing some weakness, and that's not the best of signs because of what historical data tells us. And there is weakness on Tesla stock right now, in all honesty. So I'm being very unbiased and very honest about that. We're showing some weakness right now. So let's break down exactly what's going on. RBC Capital is still giving Tesla an outperform rating, but just know that historically, the price-price ratio is now dipping right now, and it's lower compared to other periods, which shows that Tesla is losing some strength. On top of this, when it comes to daily seasonality, we tend to be green only about 47% of the time on Thursdays, which means that we're typically red on Thursdays. That's not the best of signs. It's one of the weakest days of the week, at least historically. On top of this, when it comes to seasonality, at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., Tesla tends to be the most volatile. And when it comes to months, July tends to be a decent month, but then August, September, those periods tend to be a little bit weaker. October also tends to be the weakest month for Tesla historically, but then November, December, and January tend to be a lot stronger for Tesla, so that's where Tesla's essentially going. We're entering a more bearish phase for Tesla, at least during this seasonality period. Now, there was some good news that came out. Tesla signed a deal with LGES to help them supply Tesla with more battery cells. It's a $4.3 billion deal, and that's some great news because this will help them kind of like diversify the countries that help to provide their battery cells. That's a good news for Tesla. That's why Tesla bounced in the morning, only to dip back down as time went on. On top of this, there's news coming out that, once again, Tesla is incorporating Grok, the AI chatbot that Elon Musk's company xAI has been working on, and it's going to be available in more and more Teslas as time goes on. So that's some more good news. Once again, helping to improve the user experience. I think that's good news. Then a couple of things on Elon Musk's X page. Someone basically claims that a Tesla owner drove his Model S for over 2 million kilometers using free supercharging the whole time. Tesla replaced the motor 14 times and the battery 3 times, all under warranty. So we're seeing this on the news. People are saying it's also very, very interesting as FSD supervises hitting billions of miles driven, collecting more data, which is going to be very, very good for safety. So keep that in mind as time goes on. Now, there's also been some news involving Elon Musk and his X page. We're actually looking at the Tesla logo being made by lights, and there's also the cars forming a rocket. Cool stuff, guys. Musk is just very, very engaged with Tesla still, so I do appreciate that. And that's what we're seeing, at least when it comes to Tesla news. But it's not really enough to get the share price rolling. For now, we're still showing some weakness relative to the markets. Now, let's talk about something that's very important. Now, even as the market's trying to bounce right now, historically, August and September are known for being very weak months, and I think the market could be forming a top very soon. I think we rally a bit more on SPY and the QQQ to break all-time highs, but then there's going to be a top forming within a week. I predict within 1 week there's going to be a top, and then the market's going to be looking for a pullback in August, and that could be a little bit more negative for Tesla. We might consolidate here, but be careful. Tesla starts to dip, especially if we lose 316. There could be a bigger decline, so you want to be very careful with Tesla. I'm going to be 100% honest about that. Why did Tesla dip? Well, there's some news that came out. Yields started to go up because Jerome Powell was very uncertain during FOMC, and he has said that we have made no decisions about September. We don't do that in advance. So this was a big rug pull for the markets because the market believed there was a 60% chance of us getting a cut in September. Now it's been reduced to 45%. The market thought we were supposed to get a cut, and Jerome Powell did not give us what we wanted to hear. Jerome Powell was talking about how the Fed has a dual mandate. They're going to be managing employment and also inflationary numbers just to see what happens with the economy. Now, Jerome Powell has made the argument that if the economy could handle higher rates for longer, it makes more sense to keep them higher because of the inflationary risks due to the tariffs. And he was talking about how in the past, the tariffs did affect some products such as like washer machines and dryers. So he also talked about another factor that's oftentimes overlooked is the way it affects business practices. So for example, when you look at a washer machine, when President Trump increased the tariffs back in 2018, Jerome Powell claims that washer machine prices started to go up, but it wasn't just washers. That caused an indirect effect on dryers. Dryers started to go up as well, and this can also affect business practices. So businesses may have to start increasing prices to maintain their profits and margins. And simultaneously, this is a good reason for them to do that. Just blame the tariffs for it. And Powell is saying that there's a lot of uncertainty about this. So with all the uncertainty, there could be a higher inflationary risk, according to Jerome Powell. And he worries that that is why the Fed has to be very, very careful with their policies. They don't want to cut too early. He also said we should be very grateful that the Fed is not raising rates, although that they could do that. But he's just not certain about what's going to happen. We were hoping, and this is what the market was thinking, there's going to be a cut coming in September, but it turns out Jerome Powell does not confirm that. He's saying we have to wait on the data, and nothing can be promised quite yet. Not the best of news for the markets, so please keep that in mind. On top of this, with inflation going up, Jerome Powell said the Fed have to look at the employment numbers. If things start breaking in the economy, that can incentivize them to cut faster. But if we don't see that, this could also incentivize them to keep rates as is. So we saw a big increase in all items CPI, and then for core CPI, that's kind of flat. Of course, we're waiting on PCE and other inflationary numbers. And we're also waiting on the employment numbers, especially for Friday. So Mr. Jerome Powell could also be called Mr. Uncertainty because he's very uncertain about what's going to happen. And he's saying the Fed's best course of action is to wait and see. They need to wait on many sets of data. We have 2 inflationary numbers coming out. There's going to be an inflationary number coming out for the month of July, and then another one coming out for the month of August. We also have employment numbers, very important payrolls data, all this data the Fed has to kind of look into before they make their decision to cut or not. And that's why there's a lot of uncertainty. He's also uncertain about how the tariffs are going to be affecting things, but he made it very clear there's no plan to officially cut yet. They have to wait and see what happens with the data. And obviously the market did not like that, right? That's why the market saw a bit of a pullback. So now the market thinks there's a 45% chance we get a cut, and we're going to most likely see the Fed keep rates the same for now, unless we see some changes in the data. When it comes to data, tomorrow we just have some personal spending data and some PCE numbers. This could also be very, very impactful, so get ready for that. And then on Friday, we have huge employment numbers. We have the unemployment rate coming out. That's going to be very important, and payrolls data. That's going to be affecting the Fed's policies, so get ready for some big volatility. Finally, what happened was the market dumped with Jerome Powell, but then after the market closed, we bounced big time thanks to Meta and Microsoft, which are exploding. So if you look at the numbers right here, you guys could quite clearly see that Microsoft and Meta both did very well. Meta is crediting their AI for boosting their results with a very strong performance. They smashed their EPS estimations at $7.14 versus the $5.88 expectation. Their revenue is up 22% at $47.5 billion, beating expectations. And they had good guidance, which is why the share price is up. For Microsoft, same thing. They had very, very solid earnings, good growth overall. Sorry, I have Microsoft right here. The second quarter was at $3.65, beating EPS. They also ended up seeing an increase in their revenue to $76 billion, beating expectations. Nice growth, and then good looking guidance, which is why the share price is doing well. So with that being said, the market is still bullish. Okay, the SPY chart is once again breaking towards all-time highs. The QQQ is also breaking towards all-time highs, making new highs. Expect another squeeze move before the market forms a top. Tesla may eventually try to bounce thanks to this, but I'm not expecting a massive move up because I think we're just kind of consolidating. So keep that in mind. Finally, we had some news involving President Trump. President Trump is saying that he's not going to basically back out of the August 1st deadline. He's saying there's going to be a lot of tariffs coming and they're going to help build revenue. He also says that he wants to give rebates away to Americans as a result of these. He said that the first deadline, the August 1st deadline, is the August 1st deadline. It stands strong and it's not going to be extended. A big day for America. Then he talked about how when it comes to India, he's going to be imposing a 25% tariff plus a penalty for them having lots of business with Russia. Once again, that's also going to be starting on August 1st. So that's what President Trump has been saying. Then he also talked about how there's going to be a 50% tariff on copper and other commodities. He's going to impose a 50% tariff on Brazil. So keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of tariffs coming for components, copper, on graphite, on steel and aluminum, on cars, and a bunch of different products. So that could cause volatility in August. So tomorrow the market's going to try to bounce, but I think Tesla's setup looks a little bit weak. If you're a bear on Tesla, just hypothetically, you want to see us basically fail at 316. If that fails us, we could be dipping to yesterday's low, or it's going to be today's low, which is going to be yesterday's for tomorrow. This low right here at 311 is going to be tested if we end up failing at 316. That's the bearish case. The bullish case would be we try to get back above like 325-ish. If we break that, we're looking for an attempt to test this trend line at 330. My guts tells me that Tesla's kind of weak here, and we're going to kind of consolidate between 320 and 316, but then it might be dipping a little bit as we come back down towards 310. So be careful, guys. Tesla has a head and shoulders, and there's some weakness right now on the 4-hour time frame. The daily also has some weakness. It's kind of choppy right now, so I do think we chop around a bit before potentially dipping, unless we get back above 325. Also, keep in mind that Tesla's been just in the consolidation phase, getting tighter and tighter. So we're not officially super bullish or bearish, even if we do come down. Even if we come all the way down towards like 304, we could still bounce and consolidate until we break either up or down, depending on our data. So keep that in mind for Tesla stock. When it comes to SPY, okay, this is looking a bit more bullish on the 4-hour time frame. We have a bull flag right over here, and we're trying to break out of this, so I think we're looking quite solid so far. So for now, I think that there's going to be a temporary rally. As you can tell, we were dipping with FOMC. We even came all the way down here at 631 only for them to grab liquidity and push us thanks to big tech earnings. So expect new all-time highs for a temporary rally. But the thing about the all-time highs is that I don't think SPY is going to break out much higher. I think we kind of consolidate for some time up here, and then there's going to be a top forming within a week. By August, I think the market will form a final top, and then we're going to break these lows down here. I do believe there's going to be a big pullback coming thanks to tariffs and other factors. Maybe the jobs numbers coming out could be another factor, but be prepared, guys. The top is going to come. The market's going to gap up tomorrow, try to push for all-time highs, but then we're going to be forming a top very soon, and there's going to be a much larger August pullback. I will go into more details in a later video, but I have very limited time today. For the QQQ, we're going to break out to all-time highs as long as we don't lose 5, 6, 7. We're very bullish. Every time we're hitting this green line, we're bouncing, 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 and bouncing. We're favoring 575 or above. 575 to 576 is coming thanks to Nvda and big tech stocks like Meta and Microsoft pumping us higher to all-time highs. But then we're going to see if we continue to break out or not. I do think we're going to basically form a top within a week. Then once the top is in, there's going to be a big rug pull as we have bearish divergences on SPY and the QQQ. I'll show you guys the divergences later. The IWM, however, is kind of weak right here. We need to get back above essentially 225. If we don't do this, we're going to be favoring a move down towards this 218 area. I think we kind of bounce and consolidate before we start dipping towards 218. For ES, we're looking bullish. We're bouncing off our 50 and 20 EMAs. We are currently favoring an attempt for basically 64.50 to 64.60 back up here, and then we could be looking for a rejection. I think we consolidate up here for some time, but then we're going to be forming a top off this bearish divergence, and then we could be turning right back down once the time is right? There's a bearish divergence on ES. Despite the rally, there's a triple bearish divergence. So could we go higher? Yeah, we could break all-time highs and hold up here for a couple of days, but then in August, I still expect us to break the lows and continue to fall. So please be prepared for that. I will go into more details about why I think that later. NQ is looking bullish, higher highs and higher lows. So for now, we're going to likely break out, and we're going to be looking for 23,800 as a potential target. But there's a triple bearish divergence, which typically suggests that the rally will not last. And then once we form our top within a week, I do expect us to start dipping to the 23,500s. Bitcoin is looking decent. We're kind of stuck in the middle. We could be looking for a test of 118,200. We're going to see if we reject. But if we lose 116,000, we'd be turning back down. For now, we're favoring basically 118,000 plus. We could consolidate before it starts dipping. So give this the time it needs. And I think it's going to be very, very key. For Tesla, we're in the middle, like I said before, and I think the odds still favor this downwards direction. I think we consolidate like this tomorrow. We may even try to pop a bit with the markets, but then I don't think we're going to take out 325. I think we kind of consolidated and start dipping. There might be a dip coming to Tesla at least within a week. So be prepared for some downside, especially as the market starts to sell off by next week, most likely. For now, we're bullish on Nvda. We're making higher highs and higher lows. We're favoring upside. I think we're going to likely continue to push for 185 plus. Then we're going to see if Nvidia forms a top off this bearish divergence. Once the top is in for August, we're going to be looking for a bigger pullback move. For others out there, we have Aapl. Aapl is dipping. We're going to see how earnings goes. Don't forget, we have some concerns about the tariffs and the policies involving China, which greatly affect Aapl. It's very China dependent. We're going to see if Aapl bounces a bit to 210, and then eventually it might be dipping towards 208 flat. Be careful, guys. It's still kind of weak. Netflix, however, is bouncing in, at least right now. We could be looking for an attempt to get closer to about this 1190 to 1200 area, and we're going to see if this rejects or not. For MSTR, we're kind of stuck in the middle. We're also range bound right here between this 392 to about 405 area. So I think we might be pushing higher towards the resistance right here. And then we're going to see how it ends up going. So I expect this to just trade sideways. For Celsius, we're rejecting. If we end up losing 45, we're looking for a dip back down towards the 44 area. There's a gap down here. So we could pop here before we start to sell off towards 45 flat. So be very, very careful. For Supermicro, we're looking bullish. We're favoring 63 to 64, so I think we could be pushing higher. Then we're going to see if we break out or not. As you can tell, we have a divergence right here on Supermicro. We're bullish for now, so 64 plus could be coming. Then we're going to see if we reject, but look for some upside. Palantir is going to likely test 161 to 162.5. Once again, facing these highs, I expect some more upside. Then we'll see if we reject or not. Rivian looks bearish, double top here. It's still kind of weak. May consolidate before it starts dipping to the 12.5 area. So be prepared for some consolidation before it starts dipping back down here. For SoFi, we're looking a bit more bullish. We could be looking for an attempt for basically 23. Look for some upside, and we'll see if it rejects or not. So give that the time it needs. AMD is favoring upside for 185 to 188. So look for some upside before we see a potential rejection. ARM got a big rejection. We're looking for essentially 147. If that fails, we're looking for a dip to 145. People got a big rejection. We're looking for a move back down to 68.5 or below. Coinbase, however, has an inverse head and shoulder, so this might be looking for a nice bounce. So it might be trying to push back up for essentially 386 to 397. We'll see if it rejects off that or not. So be prepared for some upside. Amazon's favoring upside as well for 238 plus. We'll see if this continues to push. Meta is also favoring 780, then eventually move closer to 800, so it's going to go a little bit higher. Google is kind of consolidating right now. It's in a consolidation phase, so it might be retesting 194 before it bounces. It's still holding up well. And Amazon's rallying, Microsoft is rallying, approaching its earnings, looking for 560 plus. And eventually it's going to try to break out for new all-time highs. It looks very bullish. So for now, tech are pushing. DJT might be retesting 18.5. The VIX is going to likely continue to fall, but keep in mind there's a bullish divergence forming. It could dip to the 14s again before it tries to bounce. The dollar is not really doing much. It's just pushing, and so is crude. So I favor new all-time highs on SPY and the QQQ. I think we temporarily rally for another couple of days or so, at least another day. But then I think that we're going to be forming a top, and there's going to be a major pullback in August. I hold the same view. I'm not backing out of it. So keep that in mind. Could we go higher? Yes. This whole time I've been bullish in the markets. I never said that we were, officially selling off yet. And I just want to make it very clear that we're very, very bullish. We should be looking for a temporary rally for another day or so. But then by next week, there's going to be a top coming. And I believe that there's going to be a much larger pullback in August, which could negatively affect Tesla. Tomorrow, Tesla may consolidate, may push a little bit for the low 320s and consolidate, but then there's going to be a risk of downside later. The share price is still showing some weakness, so we're not really balancing the after hours with the markets. So for now, Tesla has some weakness as we're not really getting that wow factor from earnings or anything that's really pushing the market yet. And also, we're just range bound right now. Tesla, we're just range bound for now. So that being said, guys, I thank you for listening. Until we see which way this breaks, we're just going to be very patient. We're going to consolidate for now, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another update. Until then, I wish you all the best. Have a good day, night, or evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for listening, and peace out.